Hey, so this video is called How to Evolve Your Personality by Stopping Anything That is Repetitious. So for myself, it's huge to be able to evolve, sometimes I can see myself behaving in a way where I get the feeling I have this inclination towards this idea that it's like the way that I'm behaving is not ideal, right? And I could be doing better, and I need that in my life. I don't like to be going around in a circle. I certainly don't like the downward spiral. I mean, and then crawling back up. I'm tired of falling off the wagon, So it's like, how do I achieve something that is a little more sustainable, something that is balanced. And so because I involve myself in a lot of like really intensive kind of creative endeavors, writing a book and learning about stuff, studying yoga. I mean, I went through this process where I essentially tried to just knuckle down and cut everything out and figured that I would be able to get ahead. And I felt like at the end of the day, I had lost a piece of my own personality. And then I had an experience where I kind of let loose a little bit, and it was just like, wow, that didn't make sense, right? But a part of what that was, which I wasn't able to speak to in the last video, which kind of barely touched on this, that I made, can't remember what it's called, but the video was, no. The idea, part of it was just that, like, I've noticed, like I said, that there are certain things that I do, and it's just like, that I don't like. Certainly something that I've noticed in my meditations that happens at times is that I will have something running through my head. And so I'm aware, I made a video about this. It's called the something effect. I can't remember the name of the woman. She was from like Eastern Europe or something like that. The Zigneric effect, where it's like it's important to the things that you have in your head to get them out so that they're not running around in there. Even if you just write them down, it's something you can do when you're learning to meditate as well, is that you can just keep a list there. And, it's such a process of learning how to meditate and technique and whatnot. It's like, it helps in the beginning, anything that you can do to help yourself through the process. And so having a list of things so that when you're sitting there, write it down. So you don't have to it's not like you're just sitting there and then you don't want to forget something, because some of the things that we have going on in our head are important. And sometimes when these inspirations strike, you have the opportunity to write it down or lose it. It's like they say that the weakest ink is stronger than the strongest memory. It's important sometimes to get things out, to externalize them so that you can utilize them. And but this was the thing. So it gets me wondering, it's like, okay, well, what do I need to do in order to stop this train of thought that's going through my head? I can tell that there's a layer that is interacting where, say, like, it can be a song and it's on repeat, and it's like, okay, to me, this is a reflection. I'm being given a reflection of something that I need to address. And so how do I essentially come at this at the source? Because that's what we treat. We don't treat symptoms, we treat causes. Or yeah, pardon me. And so this whole thing is like anything that's repetitive. So for myself, like, I have a nature of me that is a little bit cheeky. I like to joke around. I like to make jokes and stuff like that. But, certainly when I've had relationships, there's been this thing of pet names. And as a man who is maturing, who when he enters into another relationship um doesn't want, I want to avoid some of the things that I could see being essentially pitfalls in the relationship. So it's like, okay, how do we embrace a mature relationship, and all the little pet names that you create for somebody, the little silly things. It's like, oh, the cutesy names and the all that kind of stuff. I don't think it helps. I get that impression, so I don't have a significant other at the moment, but I do, for example, find myself involved with animals. And so there's these animals, say in the house that I live in, there are two cats, and they, 1 second. Oh, it's not what I was looking for. Yeah, and so there are cats in this house, and I, in the same way, make up pet names for them, right? And I do the same for dogs as well. I call them in a certain name in general, and then certain names specifically, and then but we're talking like a ton of names, not just one. There's been an evolution. So really, there's like, say, 10 things that I might say repeatedly in my description of, not as a description, but in just my way of relating to an animal. But it's like, for myself, I like to be treated with respect. At the end of the day, I don't like it when I'm called, when it feels like, there's a time and a place, I suppose, for talking to somebody affectionately, right? But I think that it can get out of hand, and it can be, say, like when I travel in South America, when I introduce myself to women, because my name Joshua, it doesn't translate, because of how it went through Yeshua, which was like what, Aramaic, or anyways, Hebrew, and then because then when the Greeks translated it, it translated to Yeshua, to Jesus. And so that they have this translation, whereas like when I speak English, they can't say Joshua. And I mean, some of them can, but it's a challenge, right? It doesn't roll off of their tongue. And so it helps to find a name that works with them. And so the name Josue doesn't really, I don't like it, because Yeshua, Josue, I mean, that's not it. I mean, Jose, no, I mean, it's not Jose. But so I will introduce myself as Yoshi, my friend. I have a friend, and that's what she calls me. But like, if a guy calls me that, it's just like, no, that's, we're not, our relationship, you're not in a place where I in any way want you to be referring to me using this term of affection, this term of endearment that I share with women who I feel close to my heart, right? And so, and I realize this, so it's like when I talk with dogs and stuff like that, because I really like to communicate with them and stuff like that. I joke around with them in my own way, but then it's like, but then I find myself saying these names, and it's just like, and at the end of the day, I also get this impression from them. It's like, why do you always make fun of us? And consistently, and I don't know if this is just me and my own insecurities, but I don't think so. I mean, like, I get these insights, and that one in particular, where it's like, why do you always make fun of us? It's like, it's not like we don't like you, but, and when I noticed that when I started being conscious of this, so that I would not refer to them in this cutesy wootsy kind of like, oh, my little baby, like talking to them like children. It's like, if you talk to me like I'm a child, we're gonna you're gonna hear about it, right? I mean, dogs. Yeah, anyways, I mean, what adult likes to be talked to like they're a child? Really, I can't deny that. You treat others in the same way that you would want to be treated. Absolutely. And so this is this question. It's like, so, does it make sense to have this, to use those words and say these things repeatedly? And the answer is no. And so when I kind of knuckled down, where I was like, okay, I need to evolve. I need to really, it was like, I need to focus, right? But at the same time, it's like, I always want to evolve my personality. And it's like, I need to stop doing things that I'm doing repetitively, subconsciously. And it's like this thing, sometimes people do something and it's like not awesome, and then they're like, oh, I didn't mean to. And it's like, well, okay, but it's like, it's not enough to be like, oh, I didn't mean to. You have to mean not to just, oh, I didn't mean to. It's like, you have to mean not to. You have to have it in mind beforehand, not just apologize afterhand, right? And so what is the point? Just because, like, what is it too? It's like repetitive behavior. If you think about addiction and stuff like that, repetitive behavior, it's like, there's nothing wrong with doing a lot of things, like pretty much, a lot of things, almost everything. There's so many things, but not if it's coming from the wrong place. Not if like this, like repetitive behavior, it's not, it is a source of suffering, doing things, what do they call it, by habit. A habit, as Bashar describes, is anything that you're doing that you're not really aware of. You're kind of running on autopilot, and that can be detrimental to your life if you don't realize where certain stuff is coming from. And it's like, you might think some things are funny and they're not, right? Like in the example of a guy trying to call me Yoshi, it's just like, I don't find that funny, no matter how you say it, no matter how, I'm asking you to stop doing it. I don't appreciate it. And I don't know what else there is to say about this. I mean, it's an idea that I'm working on currently, is how to stop this repetitive behavior. Because it's like, say with having a beer, it's, having one is okay, but having 20, could be an issue. Doing it every day, right? That can be an issue. So not having, discipline, not having, discipline, right? Can be a serious issue. And so as that translates to other things outside of stimulants and intoxicants and things like that, too much coffee, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, or too little of a good thing is a bad thing, like like, you're not an island. You can't always be alone. Being alone is awesome because you have a lot of time to yourself. You figure stuff out. You get in touch with who you are. But at the end of the day, I think it's good to be around each other and to be around people who are mutually supportive and who you can trust and build relationships and communicate with. I mean, it's nice, right? So, yeah, just, what else? Yeah. And all I can say is that for myself, in the little bit of time that I spend not doing things repeatedly, knowing my limits, not knowing my limits, but knowing when to stop and say, yeah, you know what? No, that was, I don't need to do that anymore. It's not becoming, right? It's not becoming is a great word. And the more I practice this, the better things are for me, I find, because I'm not, imposing an energy that isn't the most respectful on anybody. Instead, what I bring to the table is an energy that is more genuine, that is more authentic, that is more, I can't remember what the word is, that is more genuine, authentic, that real, as opposed to trying to be funny or trying to be cute or trying to be cool or trying to be, anything other than real and genuine and authentic and original. It's a big thing for me, is originality. So like this notion of doing things repeatedly, I can just see how destructive it's been in my life. Like any of the things that I've been able to identify in my life that were an issue, it was about doing things repeatedly, for where things got out of control. And for myself, I will be transparent about that. One of the things had to do with sex. Another one of them had to do with smoking marijuana. I was never addicted to cigarettes. And another one of them was to do with eating. I would repeatedly eat things that I know my body doesn't want, that I know are not good for me, and I would just, for some reason, keep doing it. Keep poisoning myself, keep exhibiting this behavior, and then not necessarily feeling bad about it. It's not like I would sit there and guilt myself, but I would never feel good about it, because whatever I would get from it didn't last for very long. And then you need to repeat, right? And so this is this thing about repetition, where it's just like there is something about that is like about repetition, which is, which you got to be careful with, to say the least. And those things, I tell you, I am 42 years old now, and it has taken my whole life to really get on top of those things. And I can say now that I'm finally at a place where I am not suffering at my own hand from any of those things anymore. And I guess that's why I make this video, is because it's like, I just wish I would have had guidance. I wish I would have had access to these kinds of ideas when I was a young man. But they just weren't there. I didn't know how to learn about this kind of stuff. I didn't know, and it took a long time for me to figure out. It took trial and error. And it took a significant amount of trial and error. And so I just hope that it could in some way help somebody. I guess that's why I make all these videos, because it's like, for myself, it's like a lot of these ideas that I'm working with these now, it's like I would have embraced them a long time ago had I known of them. Like for myself, I became a vegetarian. Like when somebody told me, they told me once, I looked into it immediately and I became a vegetarian and then became a vegan. I mean, I didn't need convincing. I didn't need to figure it out. I didn't need to think about it. It's like if somebody had just given it to me straight, I would have been, other things. Whereas like that did come to me straight from somebody very loving. Like I've said before, I stayed with a monk, or no, with a yogi monk, Swami. Anyways, when I was in Thailand for a very brief few days, right? But it was life changing. And so, yeah, I guess this is projection, right? I mean, this is me just saying, oh, but anyways, yeah. Repetitions, right? Yeah, and I don't want to be repetitive, so I better stop talking.